The Supreme Court convened on May 15, 2025, to hear arguments on a case that has deeply divided the nation. The case in question centers around the controversial issue of birthright citizenship, a topic that has long been a point of contention in American politics and society. President Trump's executive order challenging birthright citizenship has sparked widespread protests and debates across the country. The executive order, which aims to redefine who is eligible for citizenship, has been met with both fervent support and staunch opposition. This case, with its roots in the very fabric of American identity, has reignited a debate that has simmered for over a century. The principle of birthright citizenship, enshrined in the 14th Amendment, has been a cornerstone of American democracy since its ratification in 1868. At its core lies the question of who is entitled to the privileges and protections enshrined in the Constitution. The 14th Amendment states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens, a provision that has been interpreted to grant automatic citizenship to anyone born on American soil. President Trump's executive order, issued in the first days of his second term, seeks to deny automatic citizenship to children born in the United States to undocumented immigrants and those on temporary visas. This move has been seen by many as a direct challenge to the established interpretation of the 14th Amendment. The order, met with immediate legal challenges, has been labeled by critics as a blatant attempt to undermine the 14th Amendment, a cornerstone of American democracy. Supporters, however, argue that it is a necessary step to address issues of illegal immigration and national security. The courtroom was abuzz with anticipation as lawyers for both sides presented their arguments. The justices listened intently, aware that their decision could set a precedent that would shape the future of American citizenship laws. The weight of history hung heavy in the air, a palpable reminder of the profound implications of the court's impending decision. The justices' deliberations will not only affect the lives of millions of current and future Americans, but also reflect the nation's values and principles. Outside, a nation watched and waited, its citizens deeply polarized on this contentious issue. The media coverage was extensive, with news outlets providing round-the-clock updates and analysis. The outcome of this case, with its potential to reshape the American social fabric, will undoubtedly have lasting consequences for generations to come. As the nation holds its breath, the Supreme Court's decision will echo through history, defining what it means to be an American in the 21st century. President Trump's executive order, the focal point of this landmark case, rests on the premise that the 14th Amendment's guarantee of citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States does not extend to children of undocumented immigrants. This interpretation, a stark departure from long-standing legal precedent, has ignited a firestorm of controversy. The executive order, according to the Trump administration, is a necessary measure to combat what it perceives as rampant birth tourism and to regain control over the nation's borders. The administration argues that the current interpretation of the 14th Amendment incentivizes illegal immigration and poses a threat to national security. Critics of the executive order, however, argue that it is a thinly veiled attempt to dismantle birthright citizenship, a fundamental right enshrined in the Constitution. They contend that the order is discriminatory, targeting children based solely on the immigration status of their parents. The executive order, a lightning rod for controversy, has been met with widespread condemnation from legal scholars, civil rights organizations, and members of the international community. Its constitutionality, now in the hands of the Supreme Court, remains a subject of intense debate. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868 in the aftermath of the Civil War, has been the subject of intense legal and political debate since its inception. Its provisions were designed to address the injustices of slavery and to establish a foundation for civil rights in the United States. Its sweeping language, intended to guarantee equal protection and due process to formerly enslaved people, has been a cornerstone in the fight for civil rights. Over the decades, the amendment has been interpreted and reinterpreted, reflecting the evolving social and political landscape of the nation. Each era has brought new challenges and perspectives, influencing how the amendment is understood and applied. At the heart of the current debate lies the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment, a critical component that defines who is considered a citizen of the United States. The clause states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. This clear and inclusive language was meant to ensure that citizenship could not be denied based on race or previous condition of servitude. The interpretation of this clause, particularly the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," has been a point of contention and legal scrutiny. This phrase is now at the center of a significant Supreme Court case, which could redefine the understanding of birthright citizenship in the United States. The Trump administration argues that the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof" excludes children born to undocumented immigrants, claiming that they are not fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. This interpretation has sparked a heated debate, as it departs from the long-standing historical understanding of the 14th Amendment. Historically, the amendment was intended to grant citizenship to all persons born on U.S. soil, regardless of their parents' legal status. This inclusive approach was a direct response to the Dred Scott decision, which had denied citizenship to African Americans. The current debate raises fundamental questions about the nature of citizenship and the principles of equality and justice that underpin the Constitution. The Supreme Court's decision in this case will have far-reaching implications for the interpretation of the 14th Amendment and its application to contemporary issues of immigration, citizenship, and equal protection under the law. As the nation watches closely, the outcome will not only affect the lives of millions of people, but also shape the future of American democracy and its commitment to the ideals of liberty and justice for all. While the constitutionality of President Trump's executive order is a central issue in this case, the Supreme Court is also grappling with a procedural matter of significant consequence: the use of nationwide injunctions. These injunctions, issued by lower courts, have effectively blocked the implementation of the executive order across the country. The Trump administration, in its arguments before the Supreme Court, has vehemently criticized the use of nationwide injunctions, arguing that they are an overreach of judicial authority. The administration contends that these injunctions undermine the president's ability to enforce federal law and create a patchwork of conflicting legal rulings across the country. This patchwork can lead to confusion and inconsistency in the application of laws, making it difficult for the federal government to maintain a cohesive legal framework. Proponents of nationwide injunctions, however, argue that they are a necessary tool to protect fundamental rights from executive overreach. They believe that without such injunctions, there would be no effective check on the executive branch's power, potentially leading to abuses of authority. They contend that these injunctions are particularly important in cases where the rights of vulnerable populations, such as undocumented immigrants, are at stake. These groups often lack the resources and political power to defend their rights effectively, making judicial intervention crucial. The Supreme Court's decision on the use of nationwide injunctions could have significant implications for the balance of power between the executive and judicial branches of government. A ruling in favor of the Trump administration could set a precedent that limits the judiciary's ability to check executive actions. A ruling in favor of the Trump administration could limit the ability of lower courts to block executive actions, even in cases where constitutional rights are at stake. This could fundamentally alter the landscape of American jurisprudence, affecting how laws are interpreted and enforced for years to come. The Supreme Court justices often find themselves divided on the scope of the law. However, they remain united on the underlying principles that guide their decisions. It's a delicate balance, between interpreting the letter of the law and upholding its spirit. This unity in principle, despite differences in scope, is what maintains the integrity of the judicial system. The Supreme Court often acts as a bulwark against executive overreach, ensuring that no branch of government exceeds its constitutional limits. This role is crucial in maintaining the balance of power within the federal government. By interpreting the Constitution, the court can check the actions of the executive branch, preserving the democratic framework of the nation. Throughout its history, the United States has grappled with questions of identity and values. The Supreme Court has played a pivotal role in these debates, addressing issues that touch on the very core of what it means to be American. From civil rights to freedom of speech, the court's decisions reflect and shape the evolving identity of the nation. Some cases that come before the Supreme Court have the potential to set precedents with far-reaching implications. These landmark decisions can influence not only the legal landscape, but also societal norms and future legislative actions. The weight of such cases underscores the immense responsibility carried by the justices in their deliberations. As the Supreme Court prepares to deliver its verdict, the nation waits with bated breath. The outcome of the case will not only affect those directly involved, but will also resonate across the country, impacting countless lives. In these moments, the court's role as the final arbiter of justice is brought into sharp relief, reminding us of the profound influence it holds over the nation's destiny.